must be informed when a licensed vehicle is taken off the road due to a defect. That concludes our review of the Luton Taxi Knowledge Test questions. Good luck with your licensing. Hello and welcome to this practice session for the Ohio BMV permit test. This covers the rules of the road, traffic signs, and safe driving practices essential for licensing in the state of Ohio. What is the maximum speed limit in a municipal corporation unless otherwise posted 25 miles per hour? This is the default speed limit in most city areas in Ohio. Ready for the next one. What must a driver do when approaching a flashing red traffic signal? Stop as if it were a stop sign and proceed when safe. A flashing red signal requires the same mandatory stop as an octagon stop sign. Time for a new question. What is the meaning of a flashing yellow traffic signal? Proceed with caution and be prepared to yield. A flashing yellow is a warning that requires you to slow down and be aware of potential hazards. Moving along now. When two vehicles approach an uncontrolled intersection at the same time, which one must yield the right of way? The vehicle on the left must yield to the vehicle on the right. This is the uncontrolled intersection rule, giving the right of way to the vehicle approaching from the right. Let's see this one. What is the legal blood alcohol concentration BAT limit for a driver 21 years of age or older in Ohio? 0.08%. This is the legal limit for intoxication for adult drivers. Next question up. What is the legal blood alcohol concentration limit for a driver under 21 years of age in Ohio? 0.02%. Ohio has a zero tolerance law for drivers under 21. Take a moment for this one. What is the only effective way to reduce the concentration of alcohol in your body? Time. Only time allows the body to process and eliminate alcohol. Coffee or exercise does not work. On to the next topic. Which shape is used for regulatory signs that state a law or rule? Vertical, rectangle. Rectangular signs, often white and black, are used for regulatory information like speed limits and parking rules. Moving ahead. Which sign shape is used exclusively for a stop sign? Octagon. The octagon shape is used only for the stop sign. Here's another one. What does a yellow pennant-shaped sign on the left side of the road indicate? No passing zone. This sign provides a warning that you are entering a section where passing is prohibited. Ready for the next one. What does a diamond-shaped road sign generally warn you about? An upcoming hazard or changing road condition. Diamond signs are the standard warning signs in the US. Time for a new question. Where must you stop at an intersection if there is no stop line or crosswalk? Before entering the intersection or before the cross street. The stop must be made at a point where you have clear visibility of the cross traffic without entering the intersection. Moving along. Now, when following another vehicle, what is a minimum safe following distance you should maintain in ideal conditions? A 3 to 4 second gap. The 3 to 4 second rule is recommended for ideal dry conditions to ensure a safe stopping distance. Let's see this one. On a two-lane, two-way roadway, when must a driver stop for a school bus with flashing red lights? All traffic approaching from either direction must stop. On this type of road, all vehicles must stop to protect children crossing the road. Next question up. When making a right turn on a red light, what is the mandatory action? Come to a complete stop and yield to all pedestrians and traffic. A complete stop and yielding are mandatory before proceeding on a red right turn. Take a moment for this one. What must a driver do when an emergency vehicle approaches with flashing lights and a siren? Pull over immediately to the nearest edge of the roadway and stop. This is the law to ensure the emergency vehicle has a clear path. On to the next topic. What should you do to correct a skid? Steer in the direction you want the front of the vehicle to go. This is the basic principle of skid recovery, often summarized as steer into the skid. Moving ahead, what action should you take if your tire suddenly blows out while driving? Grip the steering wheel firmly, ease off the accelerator, and pull over safely. The firm grip and gentle deceleration help maintain control of the vehicle. Here's another one. What headlights should you use when driving in fog or heavy rain during the day? Low beam headlights. Low beams project light down onto the road, whereas high beams reflect off the moisture and worsen visibility. Ready for the next one. What must a driver do when passing a bicyclist on the roadway? Allow at least 3 feet of clearance between the vehicle and the cyclist. Ohio law mandates a minimum of 3 feet to pass a bicyclist safely. Time for a new question. What is the minimum time period a minor must hold a temporary instruction permit identification card, TIPIC, before applying for a probationary license? 6 months. This minimum time is required to gain supervised driving experience. Moving along now, how many hours of supervised driving must a minor complete to be eligible for a probationary license? 50 hours, including 10 hours at night. The 50 hours of logged practice are required for the minor to apply for a license. Let's see this one. When driving under 18 years of age and on a probationary license, what time is the initial driving restriction until midnight to 6 a.m.? This is the initial curfew for probationary license holders. Next question up. What is the current law in Ohio regarding the use of a cell phone or electronic device while driving? It is illegal for all drivers to use or hold a cell phone in their hand. Ohio is now a hands-free state, making any manual use of a phone illegal for all drivers. Take a moment for this one. Which child restraint device is required for a child who is both under age 4 and weighs less than 40 pounds? A federally approved child safety seat. Ohio law requires a federally approved child safety seat for children meeting these criteria. On to the next topic. What is the correct hand signal for a left turn? Left arm, straight out, horizontal to the ground. This is the standard manual signal for a left turn. Moving ahead, what is the proper hand position on the steering wheel? 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, or 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock. These positions allow for the greatest control and reduce the risk of injury from an airbag. Here's another one. What does a solid yellow line on your side of the roadway mean? Passing is not allowed from your lane. A solid yellow line strictly prohibits passing. Ready for the next one. What does a solid white line on the roadway indicate? It marks the edge of the roadway or separates lanes moving in the same direction. Solid white lines define the boundaries of travel. Time for a new question. If you are involved in an accident, what is the first step you must take if a person is injured? Render reasonable assistance and call for emergency help. The safety and well-being of injured persons is the top priority. Moving along now. What does the principle of implied consent mean in Ohio? You agree to take a chemical test for alcohol or drugs if stopped for OVI. Implied consent means that by driving on Ohio roads, you have agreed to be tested for impairment if suspected of OVI. Let's see this one. What color are regulatory signs that convey rules like speed limits or parking restrictions? White with black writing. Regulatory signs are generally white and black. Next question up. What color and shape are warning signs? Yellow and diamond shaped. Warning signs are universally identified by the yellow diamond shape. Take a moment for this one. What does a white square sign with a black arrow bent to the right and a truck symbol mean? The road has a sharp turn or curve that may be hazardous for trucks. This is a supplemental warning sign used specifically to caution commercial or large vehicle drivers. On to the next topic. What is the purpose of a triangular-shaped yield sign? To require you to slow down and permit traffic to cross before entering. The yield sign requires you to give the right-of-way to traffic that is already on the intersecting road. Moving ahead, what is the maximum speed limit on all state routes within municipal corporations in Ohio, unless otherwise posted? 35 miles per hour. This is the default speed limit on state routes that pass through city limits. Here's another one. What must you do when leaving a driveway or private road? Stop and yield the right-of-way to pedestrians and vehicles. Drivers leaving a private area must yield to all traffic and pedestrians on the public road. Ready for the next one. When is it legal to pass another vehicle on the right? When the vehicle you are passing is making or about to make a left turn. Passing on the right is only allowed when the vehicle ahead is clearly turning left and there is sufficient room. Time for a new question. What is the minimum distance you must park from a fire hydrant in Ohio? 10 feet. This clearance is mandatory to ensure fire crews have access to the hydrant. Moving along now. When must the driver and all passengers wear a safety belt in a vehicle operated by a driver under 18 years of age? At all times, Ohio's law for minors requires 100% seatbelt usage by everyone in the vehicle. What must you do when your car is hydroplaning? Ease your foot off the accelerator and steer straight until you regain traction. Hydroplaning correction requires reducing speed and maintaining a straight course until the tires grip the road again. Next question up. In Ohio, how many license plates are required to be displayed on a passenger vehicle? 1 license plate displayed on the rear of the vehicle. Ohio law only requires the rear license plate to be displayed. Take a moment for this one. What is the term for a situation when a person with a driver's license voluntarily agrees to surrender it? Revocation. Revocation is the term used when the privilege to drive is officially withdrawn. On to the next topic. When may you use your high beam headlights? Only when vehicles are not within 500 feet coming toward you or 300 feet ahead of you. These distance rules prevent you from temporarily blinding other drivers. Moving ahead. What does a rectangular sign with a white circle and a black diagonal line mean? The road or action is prohibited. This sign, typically a white square with a slash through the circle, is a prohibitory regulatory sign. Here's another one. What is the proper procedure for turning at an intersection with multiple turning lanes? Turn into the corresponding lane of the street you are entering. You must stay in your designated lane throughout the turn. Ready for the next one. Where should you look when you're driving and a vehicle is approaching with blinding high beams? Look toward the right edge of the road. This allows you to use your peripheral vision to stay on course without being blinded by the glare. Time for a new question. What is the purpose of rumble strips on the side of the road? To wake up inattentive drivers with sound and vibration. Rumble strips are designed to alert drowsy or distracted drivers that they are drifting out of their lane. Moving along now. When must you yield to a pedestrian? When they are in a crosswalk at an intersection or in a clearly marked crosswalk, drivers must always yield to pedestrians who are legally crossing the street. Let's see the final question. When passing a stopped school bus on a divided highway with a barrier or median, which vehicles are not required to stop? Vehicles traveling in the opposite direction on the other side of the median. The physical barrier or median separates the traffic flow, exempting opposing traffic from stopping. That concludes our review of the Ohio BMV permit test questions. Drive safely.